It's called Poker Nights with AIA. We play together once a week. You never know what's in store, so here's a peek. The cards start to fly at 7:30 sharp. Keep your eyes on the kid and no one most consider them sharks. A boom across the room as everyone's scared. All good, that's just Gabe's aces losing the mic trips while impaired. Meanwhile, in all in showdown pops off with Lee. He's up against the Beaver bunch that includes Danae, Priscilla, and Aubrey. If he pulls this off, it will be the call of the
Welcome to the All in Alliance Poker Podcast, Season 7, Episode 3. I'm Lee McDonald Jr.
King Marty and the Easy.
Michael, Mr. Irrelevant Benton.
And joining us as guest today is Miss Nancy Pye. How you doing, Nancy?
Hey, Lee. Glad to be here.
That's awesome. We appreciate you. And, we got a lot to discuss from last week. It's already been 3 weeks already. But actually, before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about you, Nancy Pye. How did you get your nickname?
Well, we moved to Texas about 30 years ago. My husband and children, we moved around. He worked for the railroad. And when we moved to Texas, we had to come up with new names for our email addresses. So we came up with Mom Pie Tex, Dad Pie Tex, Jen in Tex, so it just kind of hung on, the Mom Pie.
I love that. So Nancy Pye. So going forward, that's going to be your nickname, I hope you know, with our group. So Nancy Pye.
Okay.
No matter how many jokes they come up with.
Nancy, that's one of the nicer nicknames we can give people, too.
Yes, I'm sure.
Or is it? I mean, Nancy Pye. I mean, you can go anywhere with that. Sorry, that's my mind that works.
Lettuce. That's Lettuce Lee right there.
Yes, that's vintage. That's textbook Lee right there. Exactly. All right. So last week, again, week 3 of the AIA season or chapter 14, whatever you want to call it. Another exciting week. Not for me. I did my usual, played pretty good, and then decided to bluff at the wrong time, which we'll go into a little bit later. But right now, we're going to do the Andy segment.
Welcome to the fastest, slowest 3 minutes in poker. So what does week 3 look like? Chris, the house, went out first with +1, followed by Robert with +2. Dan, +3. Lee, +4. Brian went out next with +5, followed by Nate with +6. Jody went out next, but had the high hand of the night, so giving her +7 with an additional point, total of +8. Followed by Bud with +8. Aubrey was next with +9, but took out Nate, who was in the top, had a bounty, and also got a 7-2 for the night, giving her a +4 with a total of +13. Followed by Noe with +10, AJ with +11, Marty next with +12, but took out Bud, who gives him an extra point, so total of +13. Gabe was +13, followed by yours truly, Andyland, with +14, but took out our special bounty, Jesse, who was there for an additional 3 points, giving her a total of +17. Followed by Michael, +15, but took out Aubrey, who's in the top, and survived the night, giving him an additional 3 points, total of +18. Mike, +16, survived the night, giving him an additional point, total of +17. Followed by Peyton, +17, but had a 7-2 and survived the night, so +2, giving me a total of +19. Followed by B with +18, who took out Chris, who was in the top, had a bounty and survived the night, so +4, total of +22. Followed by Tony the Tiger, and wait for this, +19, but was on a roll. Took out Robert, Dan, Brian, Jody, Marty, who had a bounty. Tony also had a bounty, which he kept. Took out the most souls and survived the night, giving me an additional 9 points for a total of +28. Keith was second for the night, +20. Took out Lee, who was in the top. Gabe, Noe, had a 7-2 and survived the night, so an additional 6 points, giving him +26. And our winner of the night was Nancy with +21, who took out Andy, AJ, who had a bounty reward, survived the night, giving her a total of +4, giving her a total of +25. So where does that leave us after 3 weeks? Nancy's number 1 overall with +72, followed by Tony the Tiger with +67. Peyton's in third with +52, followed by Michael in fourth with +50. Aubrey's in fifth with +48. We have a 2-way tie for 6 with Lee and B at +45, and the cut is Keith in 8th place with +44. Mike, not too far behind, in 9th with +41, followed by Noe is +38 in 10th. Chris is in 11th with +37. Andy is in 12th with +36. Nate is in 13th with +32. We have a 3-way tie for 14th with Bud, Brian, and Marty, all with +30. Followed by AJ in 17th with +26, Jody's in 18th with +23, Gabe is in 19th with +18, Robert is in 20th with +9, and Dan is in last place with +6. And that's your fastest, slowest 3 minutes in poker.
All right, and there was last week's standings. So now to go into more detail, King Marty, you were at table 1. Michael, you were also at table 1, and me and Nancy were at table 2. And go figure, nobody on the podcast was at table 3. I don't know how that works every week like that, but I did end up there as a dealer, which again I'll get into. But why don't we start with Michael? So how did table 1 go for the night at most part?
Table 1 was a pretty good table. Starting from my left, we had B. So B returned this season, and he had a really good night. And then to his left was Marty. And then for the first time this season, Bud K showed up. So we got to see Bud play. After Bud was Tony. Tony was dominant most of the night. And then to his left was Nate. Nate had a pretty good run at the beginning. And then I'm not sure, I'll talk about his hand and him and Aubrey in a second. I'm not sure he's ever forgiven Aubrey yet. And then it was Aubrey and then me. It was a very talented table. B had a really, really solid night. He seemed to get everything. He had premium hands to start out with. Like one hand, I finally had a good hand. I had jacks. But we all know B is kind of like me.
I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, it was my best starting hand of the night. I had a pair of 4s 3 times. And I won one of them one time.
I don't like talking about pocket pair 4s.
Yeah, I know. I beat you a couple weeks ago when I got caught.
Yeah.
But anyways, my pocket jacks, I'm finally like, okay, I can raise. So I raised pre-flop, and then B went right over top of me and raised. That was a big tell. And then I checked to the raiser, and he went 75K, and the blinds now were about 816. And he went to 75, so that was enough for me to get out. And he showed he had aces, so that was a pretty good fold on my part. Marty was up and down, and then he went all in. He was kind of losing steam. Hopefully Marty can join this call, but he's out right now. And then he went all in with a premium hand, and he got beat, so he was out. Nate was up big first. Nate was the one that was winning all the hands, and then he kind of started losing hands, and he went all in when he had a premium hand, and Aubrey called him, and she had a premium hand, but not like his. And then she was actually on a draw and ended up being an open-ended draw, and she got it, and that knocked him out. So I think there were some hard feelings for that. And then I did Nate a solid, and I took Aubrey out later after that. And then
that was at the final table, I think, wasn't it?
I don't think it was. Was it final? I don't think it was final table yet. I think that was one of the.
It may be because I remember I went to deal, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't because my night was so freaking early. I remember I had to deal at table 3 for a minute. Then they broke that table down, and I think that's when I went to table 1. But I think you're right. I think it was not final table because the only reason I remember that is when I was dealing at table 1, I remember telling Aubrey, "Hey, you're doing great. You can win back-to-back weeks." And she said, "You just cursed me." And then, oops. Then
yeah. Okay, so 2 corrections. Nate's got a better memory than me. It was not Tony. Tony came at the final table. Chris was sitting there, and Chris it was just a glorious game because he had great hands and he couldn't get away from them, but he could never win any hands. And he was the first out, and it was just a glorious moment. We could all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. So we were all happy about that. And then Nate also, prior, when I was saying Nate was really winning a lot, Marty came on strong with one big hand. He took 300K off of Nate, and that really injured Nate. And then Aubrey finished Nate off. So 2 corrections there. But yeah, Aubrey was the 10th out, so it was not final table, but it was pretty quick. 10th and 9th was out really quick, and so it was really quick after Aubrey out. We went to the final table.
Yeah, so too bad for the person that was out 11th, because if they'd have held on a little bit longer, 9 and 10 going out on top of each other like that, they could have wound up in 8. So that's 2 whole points. Because everything matters. We've had last 2 or 3 seasons.
That was Andy, by the way. That was Andy.
Great. Oh, geez. Yeah. I feel better. But yeah, last 2 seasons, we've had people go to week 10 and finish that night off missing the main event table by 1 or 2 points. So every point counts. So that was table 1 to start with. Table 2, I started, and me and Nancy as well was there. My night ended early, mainly because I think around the first couple of blinds before the first break, I had decided to stupidly play the worst hand in poker, in my opinion, Big Slick, Ace King. I think mine were suited. And I bet big pre-flop. And of course, I got two callers. I got Gabe, who called my hand because he thought I had 7-2 and I was playing as bluffing. And Mike, who had a premium hand, decided to call. I think I made the bet, I want to say somewhere around 50K or 75K. They went ahead and called. Flop comes queen, jack, junk. And about the best I could hope for is maybe if I stay in the hand, that I could hit an ace or a king, or a 10 may pop off, giving me Broadway. And so in this position, I hate to give away my secrets, I still bet. You have to do a continuation bet is what a lot of the players try to do to show that you hit the flop. So continuation bet pops, and I pop it for 150K. So all of a sudden I'm in for about 225K, which is already way more than half my stack. I think I got about 150 behind, and I make the bet, and they freaking call me, both of them. So I'm like, oh, great, here comes some shit. So turn comes, more junk, and I believe I check at this point. So I'm figuring, okay, I've got to be beat. So I check. River comes a jack, and I believe I make another bet of 100K. And Gabe calls and Mike both calls. So I'm like, okay, I'm fucking beat. I still got about 50K behind, but they both call. Gabe turns over nothing. I think he had like a 10 high. Of course, he had one of my outs. So I beat him, but then, of course, Mike turns over a jack. So he had trip jacks, and so he wins about a 700K pot. That sets him up for later in the night. But, yeah.
So what you're saying, Lee, is they didn't show you any mercy.
They did not. That was about as much of a dumb shit play as I could have done. And so wagering more than half my stack, about 80% of it. And I was definitely shown no mercy at all. Like the Cobra Kai, no mercy. No mercy for the weak.
And then I think it was right after that, Chris came and moved to table 3.
Yeah, he said that the new rule is if you are behind the button, no matter even if you're a dealer, that you got to move. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out for the rest of the season with dealing especially, but they happen to need a dealer in that room. So I got moved. We had no issues with moving it. We just said, okay, that's the rule. We got to move.
I'd like to explore that. So I don't understand how you can be behind the button when you are the button.
Well, that's the term is actually, well, let me clarify that. Technically, behind the button is the person that's sitting to the button's right, which is normally where you're supposed to sit, or excuse me, normally where you're supposed to pick the person to move. There's been some speculation on when that is supposed to happen, either while cards are in play or after the hand is finished. In most cases, it's behind after the hand's finished. So the person that is the button at that time, when the hand's done, they become the person after the button, and then that's the person that's got to move. But
okay, so they don't disrupt the hand. I think it could still be that way, but yeah. Okay.
Not necessarily how we're doing it now, but again, it is what it is. It's the rule, so we'll go with it for now. I ended up getting moved. Even though I was down to just 50K, I thought, okay, maybe a new change of scenery, I'll end up getting lucky. I did not. I ended up getting 6-4 for either my second or third hand in at the new table. At that table was Keith, Jody. Oh God,
Dan. Well, Dan wasn't there when you were there.
Yeah, that was
the first out.
There was quite some action there. And I got there. I was super low stack compared to everybody. Everybody had huge stacks because of certain people that got eliminated afterwards. But when I got in there, it was Keith, Jody, AJ, and Peyton.
Yeah.
Was it Peyton? I don't know if he got eliminated early but there was
no. Peyton made the final table. Peyton was
Oh, good for him. I'm trying to remember who was to AJ's right. I don't think it was Peyton though, because I don't remember that. I think Peyton may have been at my table to start with. Yeah, I think he was at table 2.
Peyton was right next to you on table 2.
Yeah,
I think Noe was over there too.
Yeah, Noe was at 2. Peyton was at 2. I'm trying to remember who was at 3. Who was to my immediate right? I think was it Tony? Yeah, it was Tony that started at table 3, and then he got moved to table 1 later. So yeah, it was those 4, and then I got moved in there after Dan got eliminated there, right after Chris, which poor Dan, who had him on anybody's bingo card for finishing in last place after 3 weeks. Yeah. Not to rub it in.
6 points in 3 weeks.
Not
He's
to rub
averaging
it
2 points
in.
a week. Yeah.
I think that's a broken record. You know, Dan always loves to have record and everything. So he's officially the record holder for lowest amount of points for 3 weeks worth of AIA. Now watch us get a brag and say, yeah, at lowest point total, and then it'll be the biggest comeback ever if he comes back and wins the whole thing.
I suspect he'll make the main event. I really do.
It could be. It could be. Depends on if he misses any more weeks or not. Or, well, anyway. Nancy, why don't you go ahead and tell us how your night went on table 2?
My night started out very rocky on table 2. I had Gabe to my left, and then Mike was next, and then your son, Peyton, he showed the table no mercy at the beginning of the night. And then you were next, Lee, and then Chris's dad, Jesse.
Who was a special bounty, by the way, too.
Which was a special bounty, yep. And then next was Andy, and then Noe, which Noe came in pretty late. I don't know how much late, but we had already started, and I was down maybe 100,000 at that point when Noe came in. And then, of course, there was me to round off the table.
Right.
Noe has to case the place to make sure ice is in the neighborhood. So sometimes he's late because of that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And so since he was given the all clear, he did decide to finally show up. So, yeah, so you started out low stack, Nancy, and then if I remember right, you did end up winning some hands a little bit later, being the normal bully that you are, of course.
Yeah, there was a couple hands I got extremely lucky on, and I bet big on him, and one hand Noe ended up folding. I took Andy out, which was a big hand. I had King Jack, and I think I opened up the bidding with 50,000. I think the blinds were 10-20, and Andy was in for 10 and Noe was in for 20, and I went over the top at 50.
So that means you were first to act that hand then. You were under the gun.
Correct. And I had a King Jack, and I had 120,000 left at that point after I put in my 50,000.
Wow, bold move.
Yeah, and Andy called and Noe called.
Whoa.
And then the flop came King Jack 2.
Oh, perfect flop. Perfect. Unless they got...
And Andy checked and Noe checked. And of course, what do? But I shoved.
You have to at that point. You have to.
Yeah. And of course, Andy called me. Wow. Andy had an ace queen. So she had a straight draw. Okay.
Bottom straight draw. Yep. She had to have the case 10 come out. Correct.
And Noe folded. And I had more chips than Andy did at that point. And the turn, I hate to say this, but the turn came a king.
Oh, that shut her out.
Yeah. And so she was drawn dead.
Yeah. She probably, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have called, but it sounded like since you had more chips than her that she kind of she had no choice but to call just to hope for a 10 at that point.
Well, and she was already in the hand for 50,000. So, yeah. And then that kind of started. After that, I got lucky is all I can say, you know.
And you showed no mercy from then on out.
No
That's
mercy.
right. After that, then it was pretty quickly. We went to the final table. And there again, you are absolutely right, Michael. I showed no mercy to anyone.
You went all in. You went all in, I think, a minimum of 3 times, maybe 4 times.
I went
final. Yeah.
I went all in 3 times out of the first 4 hands.
Yeah.
Easy. That's crazy. So, Michael, as far as what's on the sheet, I remember when I went to table 3 with my small itty bitty 50K stack and got eliminated. I think I went all in with 6-4. Flop comes 6-4, but with 2 diamonds. And of course, the one guy that did call me that could more than enough to afford to call me was Keith. I think he had about 500K at that point because, like I said, the only 4 players there took out everybody early, all had monster stacks. And I think Keith had the most. So he calls me to try to get me out, and he gets the 5th diamond on the river. So he got rid of me. And then shortly after, they broke that table down to 2. And then when y'all went to final table, then when Nancy started doing all the shoving. How did your night end up, Michael, on table 1 at the main event?
I was a survivor, but I kind of used the rules to my advantage. I had so I was going to get hit by the big blind. So at that point, it was going to be 240,000 chips just to get through the big and little blind. And I was going to have, I think, 40,000 left. So I was going to make it unless we went really quick. But because of those timepieces, and I had 3 of them from taking people out, Peyton was one of them, said, take as much time as you need. So I bled out the clock till there was a minute left on a hand.
Huh?
Yeah, I bled it out. Yeah, I used all 3 of it. I used a minute and a half of time chips to bleed another minute and a half out. So with everybody's permission, because Keith really bailed me out, I had a good hand and I was going to play. I was already big blind, and it looked like Keith was going to raise my big blind. And I said, don't you dare. And he said he wouldn't. And then I checked the second time, and he said he was going to raise if I check. So I just decided to bleed out the clock. And I think he had ace king. So he had top 2 pair or something. But so I just survived. I think I finished 7th, 18 points. So 50 points in 3 weeks.
Not bad. Not bad. Now, Nate's giving you shit in the chat. He's saying that was a bullshit move. He said we need to change the blind structure. Guys, we have the ability to call clock on anybody during the tournament. I would encourage more, if you wish to have more of a finish, to call clock, and that way forces people to use their time clocks early, which is time clock is kind of a thing that we've implemented, I think, in the middle of last season. So especially on people like Tony the Tiger, who takes notoriously about 5 minutes per call, start calling clock. Give him a minute like his normal time, and then say, all right, I call clock. And then after, well, maybe 2 minutes. Let's say 2 minutes is more what the pros use. So give him 2 minutes, call clock. And then if he wants to use his time chip, he's got about a minute left. So that'll cut down on a lot of the long time that people are taking.
In my defense, I do understand Nate saying it's weak and all that, but in my defense, it was
I would do the same thing.
Everybody at the table wanted me to do that. And
to your advantage, do as much as you can. If people are
it was within the rules. And I suspect if Aubrey didn't take Nate out and Nate was at the table, he would say, thumbs up, let's get that extra survival point as well.
Right. If people don't like it, call clock. That's what you got to do. Use the rules to your advantage, just like you did, Michael. I would have done the same. So, Nate, you went all in a few times. Why don't you tell us about a few hands that you went all in on?
I can't remember the exact cards I had on all 3 hands, but I had.
Did it Andy on, huh?
Well, the one I eliminated Andy on was table 2.
Right.
Before we got to the final table. When we got to the final table, Mike started dealing, and he just dealt me monsters. I think one was ace king of spades.
Okay.
And then the one that I thought that I might lose on was pocket queens, but I also shoved on that. I think the ace king of spades, Keith called me, and I took a pretty good amount of chips from him there. And then on the pocket queens, AJ called me, and I had a few more chips than he did, and he called me with an ace 4. I had pocket queens, and pocket queens held up.
Nice.
So that's when I got quite a bit of chips at that point.
Sounds good.
Yeah. On the other hand, you had aces again because nobody called you and you flipped up an ace. So on the one, you had an ace too. I mean, I thought you had an ace every hand there in the final table.
No, I didn't. One of the 4 hands was a crummy hand. but I threw that away. But yeah, 3 of the hands I shoved all in because they were all good cards. What can I say?
Nice. That's That's your
No mercy. No mercy.
No mercy is right. No mercy.
Strike first. Strike hard. No mercy.
Right.
Cobra Kai.
Right. Yeah, the first week I figured it out. The first week I showed a little bit of mercy to Peter. I should have went all in on a hand, and I just checked it down very nicely. And after the night was over and I figured out how the points worked, I said, no more. I can't do any mercy anymore. So my thing is no mercy.
I never show mercy to Peter because he hates women. So if anything, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So Michael, tell us.
Peter was the sub, I think, for Chris that night.
Oh, especially then. No, I'm just kidding. But Michael, tell us a little bit about who made the final table and then who survived.
Sure. The final table, I'm just going to do it in order. Nancy took first, followed by Keith, Tony, B, Peyton, Mike, and then yours truly. And then AJ made the final table as well. So there were the final 8. AJ was the first out. And then the rest of us were survivors, mostly because of my keen time card.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a survivor.
Yeah. And Michael was absolutely right. I was all about that too. Just to be in that survivor mode.
Yes.
And he used up the time on the clock. So good for him.
Yes.
And then, by the way, this last week, if you remember, or the first week, we didn't even make it to a final table with, we had 2 tables, but that was a theme week. So people complained about that. But the last 2 weeks we did, and we made it to the final table on this one before the blinds went up to 80, 160. So that's the way it's supposed to work. It's just we all had enough chips at the table to become survivors. AJ would have too. AJ had a nice chip stack, but he had to call Miss No Mercy there.
Exactly.
But he only had an ace 4. Come on, guys. He knew I had a big hand.
He doesn't like to eat pie, apparently. So after pie.
I will give one shout out to Nate since he's listening. Thank you for listening, Nate. Earlier in the night, Bud and I went head to head, and I had raised, I think the blinds might have been 816 or less, 4-8, but I raised 50. And I'll be darned, most people wouldn't call me, and Bud called me, and Aubrey of all people called me. And then I had the low straight, ace through 5. I had ace 4 in my hand. So then I bet 100,000, and Nate called it, and I guess Bud didn't believe him. I had my headphones or my earbuds, and so I took one off and I said, "What'd you say, Nate? What'd you say I had?" He said ace 4, and I had my poker face on. I guess Nate didn't believe it. Bud. And so Bud called it. So that one hand was 200,000 chip profit for me because he called yeah. But Nate called it too. And so I just threw it out. I said, yep, ace 4.
Yeah, Bud's notorious for his slogan, "My dog needs me." So he probably needed his dog at the time, maybe, or the dog needed him. He also is one that says that a pair of balls beats everything. So he's going to be one of those daring players that calls a lot. So, yeah, sounds like you called him at the first turn.
Phil thought I called him ugly. I did not call Bud ugly. When I met him, I said, Chris said you were ugly. You were not ugly. So I did not call him. I just said that Chris had told me I would know who he was because he's ugly.
Well, we don't want to give Bud a name like Ugly Bud, so hopefully that doesn't stick. But, yep, that's how the night went. Pretty exciting, pretty fun. And as always, every week. And first week, we haven't had any new players. I think we almost had our full roster. I think we may have 1 or 2 subs. But sadly, we did lose Marcia and her son, Jeremiah. They were going to be out for much of the season anyway. So they wanted to kind of start things, see how they played out, and didn't go well for them at the beginning. I think Marcia had a better start than Jeremiah. But yeah, both their schedules are just hectic for this summer. So they unfortunately had to drop out. And so I think we're at 21 players now. So there's going to be 8 tables at the main event table after week 10, which will be, I want to say, the week after July 4th is what it's scheduled as.
I think July 9th or something, somebody said.
July 9th. So
I think, yeah.
We should have standings posted online But I want to say Andy, when she does her fastest 3 minutes and we put that in, I think she'll have the top 8 that's in there so far. But right now we just plan on having just the 8. And I think that's pretty much going to stick. But all right. So yeah, there we have it. And so that's our segment. So now on to the next segment, which will be Mr. Michael.
Yeah, Nancy, full disclosure, I did give Nancy a little heads up on the kind of questions I would ask so she could be prepared. Nancy, usually I learn a little something about the guest. There's a lot to learn about you. You've lived a full life so far, and from what I know, you're retired. You were in human resources, which that's very, very interesting, especially with AI right now taking a lot of jobs. In fact, I'm going to be in an AI class tomorrow, so I feel like I'm taking a class on who's going to take my job. But you also are an entrepreneur. I'd like you to talk about that. And then you have 5 children, 3 daughters, 2 sons, 17 grandchildren, and 18 great-grandchildren. So this is what we'd like to do is play a little game is we like you to name all your grandchildren front and backwards with ages. Go.
Oh, no.
We're putting you on the clock, too. We're putting you on the clock.
Oh, no. I don't think I could do that.
Oh, dang it. That's all right.
And when I saw that, I knew you had to go into business for yourself. I don't know how you afford Christmas with that many grandkids and great-grandkids, but good for you. That's awesome. And then you were married for 54 yourself. That's a little bit I know about you. Please expand upon anything like what you do now with this Grandma's Galushes, or I don't know if I pronounced it right. But yeah, please talk a little about yourself.
I do online sales currently under the name of Grandma's Goulash. A goulash, yeah. And I sell on the eBay platform, and it's tons of fun. You go out and you try to source stuff or find stuff around your house that you're not using anymore. And I put it up on eBay and I try to sell it. I also sell on Facebook Marketplace, bigger items. Yeah, that's lots of fun.
Grandma's Goulash. Be on the lookout there. Anybody buying Grandma's Goulash.
Right.
Well, we have something in common. We have something in common, Nancy, because I, too, am an online retailer. I'm getting into business. I sell slightly used sex toys. I'm not really having a good time with it.
What?
But I was trying to get that off the ground.
Oh, my God, Michael. I didn't think you
I think that's a joke, Lee.
Yeah, I didn't think he had it in him. Wow, that's a joke.
Sandy, I can assure you that is a joke. I can assure you it's a joke, yeah.
Well, he showed no mercy there.
Right.
All right.
You are dominating. You are showing no mercy. And we got to learn where did you learn to play poker and how long have you been playing poker?
Well, that was a hard question for me to answer. I don't think I started playing Hold'em, Texas Hold'em, until I moved here to Texas. And I've been in Texas for 32 years.
Wow.
So I figure I've been playing Hold'em about 30 years.
1994.
Yeah, about then. But I come from a gambling family. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. And since probably the age of 10, I have been gambling.
Is there any memorable card game or card event that you played?
I have played in Vegas, Texas Hold'em, at a couple events out there and was lucky enough to win them.
Wow. Any WSOP events?
No WSOP.
But
No.
Just like a poker room at MGM or something you're talking about?
Yeah. I've played at MGM and the Flamingo and one other one, which the name evades me right now.
Bellagio?
No, not the Bellagio. I can't afford to stay at the Bellagio. You know.
That's a premium hotel.
Yeah, it is a premium. Across the street, though, is the Flamingo.
Yeah.
And we did stay at the Flamingo. So,
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Well, you said that you specified No Limit Hold'em, but do you have other poker games you like Pot Limit Omaha, 5-card draw? What experience do you
I
have in
love
those?
5-card draw. I love 7-card draw. I love the casino game of Ultimate Texas Hold'em. So yeah, probably my favorite casino game is craps. I love craps.
Oh, wow. Wow. The first time I heard that on the podcast, Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's interesting. We don't discuss a lot of crap like that, but yeah,
Right.
first for everything.
Yeah.
You know that Ultimate Hold'em, though, my mom, my mom, she's back home now. She's back. She's better. She was out there at Beau Rivage, and she played Ultimate Hold'em for her first time, and she won. So I think she's found a card game she likes out there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yay. Good.
Yeah, nice.
And we're all glad she's doing much better.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very much
Thank
so.
you. Yep. Thank you. Back to the questions. So I know you play Beaver.
That's Beaver Bar Poker League, by the way. We want to clarify
Yeah.
that right
Eager Beaver. Yeah. Eager Beaver.
Yes.
Eager Beaver, yes. So I'd like to see, we have several people that have come over from Beaver League, Eager Beaver. How would you compare the style of play between AIA, the tournament we play on Thursdays, versus the Eager Beaver League?
I think the AIA League is that people play a much tougher game and a much tighter game than they do at the Eager Beaver Poker League. That's a lot more loose. People play a lot less premium hands, and it's pretty much a crapshoot of who wins each week.
Right.
Yeah, would
Almost
you
like
say that's
bingo.
because, right? Would you say that's because it's free roll, and then
Yes.
this
Yeah,
is
because it's a free roll and it's a place for people to learn.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, that's what I hear. I've never played there. I've been asked to go multiple times. It's just I will one of these days, but I hear that often.
Yeah, the people that go are absolutely super. The people make the league. So I would not ever say don't go, you know what I mean? Because it's a great place to learn.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
great place to practice things that you may not want to practice in another environment. So it's absolutely worthwhile.
I definitely agree. And Craig Lopez, who's the owner, great guy. He is taking Eager Beavers 6 nights a week to various locations. One of those being Cholitos, another El Viejan, both Mexican restaurants. Then he takes them to a couple bars, the Dive Bar or Lake House is what it's called now, and also Jack's Tavern. It's kind of one of those where most of us got our start there, just kind of practicing and playing around. And then me and Chris got together and asked a few buddies to form the AIA group. And then we just started forming an official league. And so we've been kind of going hand in hand, and we all share players together and everything. So that's kind of how Eager Beaver and AIA are related. So cheap plug to Eager Beaver, and go talk to Craig about playing over there.
And can we just go a little deeper? Because this weekend, for a Mother's Day, we went bowling, the Bowler. So isn't that kind of how you all met? Isn't a lot of people meet at bowling?
Actually, yeah. So even way before poker got started, a lot of us bowlers bowled together in quite a few leagues. Another cheap plug, AMF Louisville, obviously in Louisville, is where we all got started. That's where I met Chris. Met him. Actually, it's been about 10 years now. I think we met in 2016, bowling league together. We expanded on that. We met Chris and his wife, Tina. They've been bowling up there for a long time. I've been bowling up there for about 25 plus years, since actually more than that, since 1998 is actually when I moved to Texas. That's actually where I met my wife there. So I got a lot of history there. Met Chris there. We got about 7 or 8 of us started playing just cash games at his house. We found out there's a lot of people that love bowling and poker. So we asked even more people to join, and that's how we formed the first season of AIA. And I think it was 2024 was the first official season. And I think the first season I happened to win, by the way, cheap plug. And we had, I want to say it was close to 18 players. So started out as a bang, and it's been going ever since.
Yeah. So Nancy, when you see a couple of us have the World Series of Poker bracelet, just know Lee should have one, but the season he won, they haven't adopted that yet. So, yeah.
I got a little trophy. I got a little trophy
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Hey, so when you met Chris back then, I'm sorry, we'll get back to you in just a second, Nancy, but when you met Chris, was he just as annoying? Was he just as annoying in bowling as he is with
Oh
poker?
my God. Let me tell you, he makes a name for himself wherever he goes. So ask any bowler up there and he will definitely be known for what he's done. He actually has made a name for himself so much that he actually got himself banned from the place. So he isn't allowed to bowl there. Although we heard just recently that the general or the district manager that did the banning, which kind of is a little controversial, we actually did a bowling podcast called JB Trio podcast, that kind of like how we're doing now with AIA. And there's a whole like story behind it. We did like an 11 episode saga, how that all went down with his banning. And we tried to get the district manager to lift the ban and he didn't, but now he got canned, that we heard. So the district manager is no longer there. And there's a whole drama filled story on that, which we'll probably have to maybe put AIA episode into just for Chris, but he might be able to go back in the place one day. Who knows?
I know something happened because when I paid at Bolero, I tried to use him as a reference, and they jacked the prices up double for me when I
Yeah, they probably did.
I figured it was the story.
They showed him no mercy. They showed him no mercy.
Yeah. You know what? It's a good segue. So, Nancy, the question is, are you an aggressive player? Well, we've seen that you are, that you showed no mercy. But is that the type of player you always are? Or is it just the cards that have enabled you the last few weeks to show no mercy?
Bully. We all know Nancy's a bully, but the kindest bully and nicest bully you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I would say, and I think that Lee would agree with me, and most people that I already know from Eager Beaver would agree that I'm always an aggressive player.
Always.
I believe that aggressive poker is winning poker.
It is.
Yeah.
Even the best player in the history of poker, Mr. Doyle Brunson, I believe is passed on now, always used to say the best test for the best players in the world, the whole reason to play is to put a man or woman to a test for all his chips. So Unlimited Hold'em, he said, is the best game in the world. But only the best players will put another person to the test with all their chips.
That's no limit.
That it is.
So, Nancy, okay, so you are aggressive. You do show no mercy. You do play your cards well. Is there a certain part of your game that you would like to improve?
Absolutely. I think every part of my game needs improving. So I'm constantly working to get better and thinking about it. But I would say if I had to pick one thing, I need to be better at bluffing.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bluffing is probably one of the toughest things you can do, especially when you have best friends like Aubrey, who seems to be really good at bluffing. But I guess when you two play each other, y'all don't bluff each other so well.
No, we don't.
Well, yeah, let me tell you, we found a new skill of Aubrey, and we found it out against Chris. She actually, if you can believe this, she lied during a hand to Chris about a hand she had. She actually lied. Yeah, you believe that?
I can't.
Well, she should have. I mean, you should always lie about
was so hurt by it, but it really injured Chris because Chris had the better hand, and she told Chris that she had the king and she didn't. And so Chris folded the best hand, and that left him with just a few, I don't know, maybe 10,000, maybe 14,000 in yellow chips. He had nothing but yellow chips left, I think. And so that's why he was out first. But yeah, so there's a new skill in Aubrey. She can lie.
I can't believe that. I think it has to be somebody like Dan or Phil or Nate that influenced Aubrey somehow and said, oh, it's okay to lie. So they probably lied to her first, and then she just did it to Chris.
You showed Chris no mercy. I can tell you that. And it really bothered Chris. All right. So this is Phil's question. I get asked this for Phil. Every week he wants me to ask this question. So I'm going to ask it for Phil. Who is the best player in the league? Which player do you hate to go head to head with? Now, granted, you've only been in the league for 3 weeks, so you might not have a really good answer for some of these. But in your 3 weeks, who has impressed you as the best player? Mind you, that Phil went out first and last so far, I think. Who's the player you hate to go head to head with? And then is there a particular player that you just love to take out? Like everybody in the league loves to take out Chris. So if you could jump on that bandwagon too.
Okay, let's go backwards. There is no one that I want to take out more than the next person. I want to take out everyone. Okay.
Great answer. I love that. No, I love that answer. That is a great answer.
I mean, it's true. I want to take out everyone every week. I'm not going to lie about that.
I love
I think there is a lot of good players in this league. So being that I've only been there 3 weeks, it would be hard for me to say who I thought was the best. I know like Michael is a very tight player. So I have to play him differently than someone that's a loose player. I'm just still learning all that stuff in this league. So it would be hard for me to say who I thought was the best player at this time. But ask me after 10 weeks and I'd probably have an answer for you.
Okay.
I
Well,
think I might be able to answer that because you, Nancy, have only played, just like Michael said, 3 weeks, and here you are. You've already won first place in one of the weeks. So I think we can safely say
she's in first place for the whole standings, too.
right. And so it's just, I mean, obvious that we can see who the best player is. What's that old Ric Flair saying? If you,
I gotta say, Lee, I've been lucky.
well,
Just extremely lucky.
I don't know how much luck has to go into it. I know how great a player you are, and you definitely got a good history with it. So, but I think it's a testament to say who the best player is. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, just like Ric Flair said. And right now, you're the best. So you're number one.
Well, that's sweet of you.
And Nancy, when it comes to me, I'm not really a tight player. I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm not really sure what beats what. I got to keep asking Lee if a flush beats a straight or so forth. So that's really what it comes down to.
Well, I think all we got to have you do, Michael, is just remember that a flush is all the same suit, not what suit you think you have.
Ow. I walked right into that one. Nancy, we'll tell you about that one some other time. That's one of my worst hands.
Okay.
Worst moment in the history of Michael.
I think you'll appreciate this. There used to be another interviewer, and it was a little bit different than the way I do it. It was more like a porn show. So I try to motivate mine from Bob Ross. You remember Bob Ross, the painter, right?
Yeah.
He always says you have your own world. You can do anything you want in your own world. So in your own world, what is your favorite hand to play, and how do you play it? Do you play it slow? Do you snap crawl? What do you do?
Great question.
Okay. And this is going to be a complicated answer because I don't have any favorite hands. Of course, I love ace king. I love pocket aces, pocket kings. Everyone does. But it depends on the position that I'm in at the table for that hand, what I'm going to play and what I'm not going to play. So for me, that's probably the most complex question that you could ask. I mean, there'll be times I'll play Jack 2 and I might make it 150,000. There will be other times that I have pocket queens and I will fold them. It just depends if I'm in early position, mid position, at the cutoff, on the button, where I'm at in the hand.
That's fair. You're right.
Yeah. And who else is playing?
It's nuanced. Hey, do you
Yes.
happen to have a tell when you are playing Jack 2? What would be the tell that people at the table can see?
I don't think I have any tells on any hands, but I
Everybody's got a
could be
tell.
wrong.
No,
Yeah, everybody's
you
got a
definitely don't. It's hard to read you. I want to elaborate on that question on Michael, on Nancy, but what hand is your kryptonite, the hand that you seem to get taken down for the most?
Probably ace king.
Yep.
Exactly. Thank you. I
Yeah.
call it the worst hand in poker because you have to raise with it. You have to be pot committed to it. And if it doesn't hit, then you're screwed.
Yeah, I'm almost one of these people that go all in with an ace king. I don't ever try to slow play it
Same here.
because it bites me in the ass every time.
It really does. I'm glad you pointed that. I'm so happy because that's the hand that took me out this last Thursday.
Yeah.
I can tell you my worst hand, and it's any hand that I'm head to head with Phil in. I don't care if I have aces. He beat me the other week, Nancy, when I had trip jacks on the flop, and he had 2-4 suited, and he beat me.
You beat him with a flush. He had to have runner, though. I remember that. I dealt that hand.
Yeah, he got the king, too. But, hey, I promised him and asked this. Nancy, what is Phil's tell? Please share. He says, did you know his tell?
I do not. I do not think I know his tell.
I know his tell. Whenever he says danger, play the hand. Because he fucking gets himself in more trouble every time he says danger. Him and Dan and Nate, anytime they say danger, play that fucking hand. And I'll give you a test. First week one, it's the last hand of the night, and Nate's sitting there saying, don't play it, Lee, don't play it, there's danger. And so he makes me fold ace queen. He's got shit. He just didn't want me to play because he knew I was going to go all in with it. So anytime they say danger, that's a fucking tell.
I'll tell you, Nate's got a tell too, but I'm not going to say. I said it at the main event.
Oh, nice.
But I picked up Nate's tell. I don't know if he's going to change it, but I did pick it up.
Oh, please tell us. Well, if you don't watch it, that's okay. But please tell us later.
I think Phil, the way that you play Phil is let him keep on bluffing and get in all those little hands and then just lay and wait for him, because he will bet the pot up for you. And then when you have that boat and he's been betting the pot up, you just can shrug your shoulders and say, hey, buddy, you bet the pot up.
I'm going to remember that, because when I go against him, I'm going to remember that. Okay, final question. This is a really good one for you. If you were to give a new player advice, or just a player trying to get better, what advice would you give that new player on how to be a better poker player?
Wow, good question.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best question of the night. I would tell the person to play as much poker as they possibly can and to play with a lot of different people, because they will learn much more than they even believe that they will learn. That's what I did. I wasn't shy about it. I lost so much. I probably made a typical fool of myself playing poker, but I just learned by playing with a bunch of different people, and styles change so much. And as you guys know, I play a lot of poker. Yeah. So I try to play every night that Eager Beaver is available. I play with you guys on Thursdays. I play some online. I'm always playing poker, and I think that's what makes you better.
I do too.
Well, that's a good answer. One of the better ones I've heard is also learn how to fold is a good answer. I remember Jeremiah told people that. But, I do have one more question for you. I didn't give you heads up on this, but when you have a hand, right, when you have a good hand, are you playing your hand, or are you also trying to figure out what the person has? Do you spend time looking at the board and thinking, okay, because I always think if I got a full house, that person's got 4 of a kind, right? I'm trying to figure out what they have that could be better than me. Is that how you play?
Yeah, I probably play people more than I play cards.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I may have a good hand. It may not be the best hand, but I'm going to bet it as if they think I have a better hand than they do.
Yeah, you're going to represent a better hand. Lee does that a lot.
Yes.
Sorry,
Lee.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Lee is very good at that. Yeah. Also, I think the board repeats itself a lot of times during the night in a tournament. So I think it's important to watch if 4s are always coming out, or 10s.
Or say 4s first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, whatever.
You believe that. So you don't believe in the randomness. You believe that there is some.
I believe there's poker gods.
God.
The poker guys. Yeah, there's devils too, poker dice.
That's going to be my 4th god I'm praying to tonight then.
That's like Michael saying, if you want to make a strong player, don't make a strong player better. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do. What that is, Nancy, it drives me crazy when I see, of course, I understand you take somebody out at a point, but when you have nothing and somebody goes all in, even if they have low chips and you have nothing, it just drives me nuts because you're making a strong player stronger. Don't double them up. If you don't have it, get out, wait for the next hand. But I've seen it over and over again where somebody goes all in. They probably have their best hand they're going to have in a while. And if you got 6-4, maybe not call it, but we see that all the time.
But we also see people that call with 6-4 that get a straight.
Right.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
Or a boat. I've seen that.
Pot odds.
Yeah.
Hey, Nancy, I know he said one last question. We keep adding
I'm done.
questions.
Yeah,
I got one more. So out of your history of poker, you said you played in Vegas quite a few times. Who would you say is maybe the most famous person that you've ever played with, if any?
Oh, I don't think I've played with anybody famous.
Not in Vegas.
If I did, I don't know who they were.
Ah, okay. You were the most famous.
No.
Nancy Pie, of course you are. But all right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Nancy. We got one more segment to go through, and that is the picks, which Marty is normally the one that does it, but sadly, it looks like he got stuck at work. So he's working late right now. We miss you, Marty. Come back to us, King. So it's just going to be us three. We'll probably post Marty's official picks because he likes to brag that we've done this 4 seasons for him and he's won all 4 and he wants to keep his streak going. So we'll get his picks later. But so as far as who we think is going to go out first, why don't we start with Nancy? Now, I know you may still have a hard time remembering everybody. Who do you think will be going out first?
Well, I think that Dan is going to go out first this week because let me tell you why I think that.
Yes, please do.
I don't mean anything against Dan.
No,
but
Please do. Please mean it against him.
Okay, he's in last place, and I think he's got to make a lot of bold moves to get points.
He's got to try to show no mercy.
Right. He's got to show no mercy to anyone. So I think he's going to have to play a lot of mediocre, not so good 7-2 hands and just try to take a lot of chips and dominate the night. So by doing that, you risk a lot. So I'm going to pick Dan as going out first.
Hashtag Cobra Kai Dan.
Yeah.
And who do you think is going to be in first? Now, the only caveat is you can't pick yourself because
this week, I think this week, Tony's going to be first. Tony's been at the final table the first 3 weeks. And I think that he's going to continue that streak and probably have the most chips at the end of the night.
Right. I actually think that's a good pick. He gets the most lit when we start playing poker. So I think it's hard to read him, and he takes so friggin' long making calls. I think that's a good, solid pick there. Michael, who do you have going out first?
Oddly enough, for the same reason. Now, just like Nancy picking Dan, for the same reason, I'm going to pick Robert because Robert is even looser than Dan, and Robert's going to have to make up a lot of points. But just like Dan and Robert, they could both easily finish first too, right? But I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on them because Robert's actually one below Dan. I didn't think anybody's below Dan. I think, all right? I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, Robert's going to make up. And then first, I'm a believer. I'm going with Nancy. Nancy's going to go back to back.
That's going to be hard to have a back-to-back.
Yeah, but if anybody can do it, you can, Miss Nancy Pie.
Oh. Well, thank you for the vote of confidence.
I believe Michael. He stole my pick, though. All right, now it's my turn, and I hate this part. Who's subbing this week? Have we got any subs? Who's subbing this week? I don't know who's subbing.
Phil. Yeah, just call Phil then.
Oh, Phil, yeah.
He'll be subbing.
He's always promoting himself to sub in the league, so I don't want to pick Phil. I don't think he's going to go out first. Man, my first this week. Let's see. We got 21 players now. Can I pick Marcia? No, wait, she's out. Damn it. Let me see. Who is going out first? Let me do the Marty method and choose the pencil and just roll it around and make sure it points at somebody.
Hey, Nancy, Lee's known this is happening for the last week, and every week he does this.
I never pick in advance. I always go with my gut. Well, this week, my gut is telling me that, okay, I'm going to go with Keith only because he knocked me out in horrible fashion, got lucky on me, chased and got lucky. So I'm going to pick Keith for spite purposes. So in spite of Keith, I'm going to pick Keith, but he's probably going to finish first anyway. So my first place, I was going to pick Nancy. I hate to be that guy that always just falls in line. So I'm going to pick Nancy's best friend, Aubrey. So far, it's been all women so far. So Aubrey's already won week 2. I'm going to pick her to win week 3. Or week 4, excuse me. So she's going to win week 4. So far, it's going to be all women winning.
I would be happy if Aubrey wins week 4.
I think it's going to happen. So I think
Fingers crossed.
she's got to have a nickname by now. We just got to figure one out.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do. Aubrey's the Wonder Twin.
The Wonder Twin? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Wonder Twin. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe Aubrey the Liar because now she's lying at everybody. So let's just call her Aubrey the Liar.
I think we call her Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. There we go.
Mike has already changed it to, I mean, there was a couple of choices. It was Womb Mate, because she's a twin, Womb Mate.
Oh, Womb Mate. Oh, wow.
And because she's a twin and a dealer, perfect pair. But Michael said that would go sideways really quick if we called her perfect pair.
Oh, I love that. All right. You just did it. That is her nickname, perfect pair. I love it.
I like that too. So, I mean,
the innuendo that I love to do all the time. So the perfect pair.
Now, in fairness, Aubrey doesn't want a nickname, but when does that matter?
You get a nickname. You don't just get your own nickname. You get a nickname from other people. So.
Nate made one huge mistake by wanting us to pick him. I think we picked skid marks for him, right? So,
I think it was you, wasn't it, Michael? You put it in group chat?
I'll never admit to that. No, I'll never admit to that.
Oh, well, we love you, Nate. All right. Well, that was the last segment, and we're a little over an hour, so we reached our limit. I hate to cut it off now because I love Nancy, and she's one of our best guests we've ever had. But
this has been fun.
It's been a fun night, and Nancy, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It was all my pleasure.
We'll see you Thursday.
The pleasure was all ours. So we thank you for coming.
Well, this concludes the broadcast for week 4. We want to thank our special guest, Nancy. We're going to see a lot more of her and her no mercy style of play. So be there Thursday.
Be there, be square.
Be there, be square.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, that's just been great, guys. This has been great.
It has been. Thanks, Michael, for the questions.
Bye, everybody.
Stupid gummy stare across the way is about to go down. Eric throws down the nuts, which leaves Tina out and poor Robert sniffing around. This is all in the night of our AI group. Join us next season and we'll bring you in the loop. Don't forget to catch a podcast and get yourself some merch. If you don't do either, you will be like House calling you a jerk.
All in Alliance Poker League.